Good evening. This is this week's Lunch and Learn. You won't be able to see me very well. Normally you can't anyways, but what's important is up here is my code where you're seeing me. We're going to do things a little bit different this time because this Lunch and Learn will be about sort of things that we as developers has been doing this for a long time know and you might not be aware of. Was brought to my attention with a couple of different things. We're also going to take a look at the Stack Overflow's recent survey that they do every single month on different things that you might be aware of. I'm going to put the link below in the description. Sorry if you can't see me very well in my backyard one more time, here making sure that you get as much information on your lunchtime as we can do possible. Excuse me, I haven't shaved. It is the weekend. It is time for me to relax. So, first and foremost, my name is Damian Montero. As usual, you are watching the Lunch and Learn, which is my 15 to 20 minute explanation of something that some of you have been asking. Again, if you have any questions down below, leave me a comment. I do read them all, and let me know what it is that you're interested in hearing about. I look around and I see what developers, junior, mid-level, even senior developers, are asking about, wondering about, and simply want to make sure that they're getting as much information as possible. I've been doing this for 20 years. I've been also teaching other developers. I run a group called Boca JS, hence why you are here and why the channel is called Boca JS. You can find more, of course, at bocajs.org. You will find that I try to delve into information that is quick, simple, and you can watch while you're having lunch. Enjoying your lunch while I'm enjoying my lunch. Lunch and Learn, one more time, is just a weekly podcast we do that lets you know what's going on. And normally what you would do is it's Lunch and Learn if one developer at your company teaches the other developers something, or for example, a manager does something for the other developers, or a developer teaches other managers, for example, or project managers, or other people in our career and business. Today's is specifically about that. I wanted to share with you some information, some things that are sort of the unspoken truth of developers that you might either not know, be wondering about, or be questioning if you have heard about it and wondering why there's some things. This was brought up for the fact that my new company where I'm working at had some unusual things happen to it. There were two issues that came, and there were ones that we kind of, as developers that have been here for a while, kind of know what to do with, but I guess they didn't. Number one is when you work at a company, what you do is you're doing work. This is a normal procedure for lawyers that know what's going on, but it's unusual, and we are highly paid individuals that do a very skillful thing, an unusual thing that is very, takes a lot of skills to learn. Of course, everybody can become a developer. I don't believe that you are special, although you do have something that's special and unique. But it's your hard work that's gotten you here, not the way you were born. Getting back to my information, this developer in this situation was very mad and decided that the code that he had put in extra work for, working weekends, nights, to get this baby being born. As developers, usually we feel this code is ours and we own it and we're giving it to the world and we're very happy for it. And people might talk badly about it, and now we take it to heart, even though it's just a program. It's nothing to do with us. But this developer decided that to keep the code and explained that if they wanted to take it away from him, and all they were doing is moving him from this developer to this other developer. This developer had taken a while doing it, and then he was simply being shifted to another team or another developer. This has happened perhaps in your teams, or perhaps happened to you, or happened where you receive code from other developers, and the other developers might not be able to want to share information, or hopefully they have shared information. This individual was very mad and explained that he was not going to hand over the source code or unique thing that you can utilize to continue the program until the next time this happened. This is not unusual. We feel that it is our baby, and then when it's taken away, we feel like nobody, either they should give us more money for because we have done extra work for it and we didn't feel rewarded for it enough, or also because of the fact that we feel that it's been taken away from us unfairly. Because we've been taking ownership, we've adopted this code, it is now ours, so perhaps we've created it, and then to shift it over to somebody else. This is very common. This is one thing you have to be aware of. Not to worry about that. If that didn't sound right to you and you're like, I would never do that, then you still have to think about this part. Whatever you do, that's not whatever you do on company time, in company computers is not yours, even if it's your work. Let me think about it this way, in a different way. Whatever you've done for the company has paid you, whether they've paid you in thanks, whether they've paid you in volunteer times, or more specifically and more obviously, whether they've paid your salary. Even if you worked 16 hours out of the possible 8 that technically they've paid for, they technically expect you to work 40 hours a week, but nudge you to work another 90. Whatever you've done for them, or even on their computer, belongs to them. Make no mistake about it. If you created the next WhatsApp, but you did it on somebody else's computer, it does not belong to you. It is technically theirs. And at worst case scenario, if you were to win in court, it is partially theirs, as a baby would if you parents to split. So don't confuse that. Whenever you're doing something personal, whether it is yours or not, even if you've done it during company time, and I don't mean at lunch, and some managers will get confused by this, but you're sitting in my office. Well, that's a flip-floppy time. You should always step outside if that's what you're doing. But if it's on your laptop, on your time, when they're not supposed to be at work, then it is yours. If it happens during work hours, even if it's on your laptop, it is theirs. If it happens outside of work, on their PC, this is my work computer, it is theirs. The computer makes it their property, and you're working on their property. But you say, Damien, I'm not connected to the VPN. I'm not working on their code. I'm just using their computers because it's convenient and I just happen to have it open. It is now theirs. It is partially theirs. They could have ownership of it. They may not be able to say they own 100% of it, and you may be able to fight that in court, but they will most certainly be able to say they own a portion of it. So don't do it. This is kind of obvious to a lot of materials, to a lot of, a lot of individuals in different situations. But it sounds crazy, right? If a doctor helps you outside the doors of a hospital, no one's expecting you to pay the hospital. If there is some kind of fee that somehow the doctor, well, first of all, the doctor probably cannot ask you for a fee, but if the doctor were to be able to ask for a fee and you feel comfortable, the hospital will have a hard time saying that they are owed money unless it's kind of, not if it's on the, well, the doctor's on vacation and when it's the doctor's time about it. So it's a bad analogy, but just be aware of it. Other things. Software is hard. And changing subjects, anything you need help with as a junior, mid-level, or senior developer from another developer, it's perfectly fine to ask them. It will save them time and save you time. Now, there will be cases where the developer will just not seem to want to help. In those cases, just be aware of a couple of different reasons why. They just may be bad. They may be an a-hole, if you can understand my words without using they may be a mean person that doesn't want to help you. And there may be reasons that's a legitimate thing. They may have been given, you may have been given their software and they wanted to get all themselves and not realize they could not do it all themselves. They may have other things they need to do, and the last thing they have time on is to help you. And that's a bad excuse, but it's a legitimate excuse, so you'll have to be one there. So do reach out. Do reach out to ask these developers anything you'd like, and do make sure that you are comfortable doing that. Do understand that a lot of developers might get mad at you the opposite. You've been working on this for the whole sprint, the whole 2 weeks, only to find out that you had hard time since the beginning and you never were able to figure out. And the developer was like, "Why didn't you just come over? I would have pointed you to the right way and essentially let go and you would have taken over." But just be aware of that. It's a little give and take. And it's a little morality. be conscious that you are encouraging or taking over someone else's time. Just be aware that they might themselves ask you, no, not this time, a little bit later. Try to see if you can schedule some times with them to do that. Try to communicate that with your boss and say, listen, I need time with this developer. And your boss most likely understand that and might give you excuses like, well, no, that developer is trying to finish something big, but it's going to affect you, so just be aware of that kind of situation. These are some of the other things that we are aware of as developers. No one ever has developed anything, regardless of how senior they are, without the help of Google or Stack Overflow or some help in there. We all have Git repos, I do myself, which has sort of snippets of information, how to do some basics. Let me know if you can hear my air conditioning that just turned on the outside. This is why I need to find a new location for these podcasts. But if you can still hear me, and I think you can, let's continue on. Remember that we are on, no man is an island. No one has ever developed software. Even the people that landed on the moon, where there was no Google for them to do, did have other developers to bounce things off and ideas, other developers to get code reviews from, and things like that. So just be aware of it. No matter how senior a developer, I've been doing this for 20 years, and I literally had to Google how to change the volume of this microphone, which is a little bit low, as you can tell in this case. So we all do it. I'll do it on the most easiest application. I have some code that gets me bootstrapped, that gets me started with a Node project, a C# project that I have my sort of pre-prepared, everything ready to go kind of project. WebSockets, I have it. That's the case. On a similar note, when you see the developer coding live, if you see a presentation, as you may have at different times that you've come over to my event and you've seen me present, or you've seen other people present near your area or near your meetups, you will have seen that they seem to be graceful. They seem to have been magically given this answer to the question of how do you do this, and it seems to be something very complex. Most of the time I will have next to me a computer which has the answers. Essentially, I have spent 2 days preparing the slides, which I will present in a 50-minute presentation, only to find out that you see me doing it in 40 minutes, plus I have plenty of time to answer questions, and I seem to know everything what's going on. In the background, you haven't realized that I spent about 2 days trying to get that code perfectly. So I know what it is that I'm going to be doing there. And I've even if I've changed it or I had some trouble, you may have sneakily heard me say things like, wow, it was working in the past. Of course it was. 2 days ago, 2 days worth of work, it was working. So it's just something to be aware of, just to be conscious about that. Scott Hanselman, one of the top leading developer evangelists, in this case for Microsoft, in the world that I look up to, always says about developers oh my gosh, I keep forgetting the saying, but it's that all developers understand that they sometimes feel that they're not qualified for their job. How silly of me to forget. I should have had this laptop open with my notes. I did not. But just be aware of that's the case. We do have sometimes some things that are something not capable of. We were feeling that we're not capable, or we are overwhelmed what we're doing, and that we shouldn't be at our level, our stage. I have felt that in every single job I've had where I was the most senior developer. I felt in the job where I felt I was not the most senior developer, and I'm like, wait a minute, that person is younger or same age or older but has the same number of years experience, or they don't know this particular thing very well, but somehow they knew that answer, and it just so happens that that's how it is. And just be aware of that. Just be aware that everybody feels that way, and it's not true. You were hired for a reason. You were kept at a job for a reason. You are hired at the next job for any part of reasons. You are asked on. You are looked up to. You were questioned because you know what you do and you know what you're doing, and it's true. So what I wanted to do is I'm going to switch and I'm going to go over some of the things that we do. If you do have any other questions, look below. Just want you guys to I'm going to switch over here. Go out to this link that you will see below. It's insights.stack overflow survey. Let me zoom in there. 2019. I want you guys to go there, find out information. Ignore the salary. And this is the reason why. It's not that I don't want you to feel bad or feel good because of certain amounts. is that it makes no sense. It makes no sense to compare yourself with someone living in San Francisco, or someone living in New York, or someone living in Texas, compared to the salaries you're getting and compared to what you're doing there. So kind of ignore this. But just be aware of the fact that this is really what developers have said. This is not what anybody has checked. So we kind of take them at their word, and we take them at their word in aggregate. In other words, the outliers, I am a junior programmer that makes $150,000, is kind of supposed to be sort of put aside as everybody else tells the truth. I'm a junior developer and I make $40,000 a year. And again, those numbers don't make any sense. Here's some interesting things about developer roles. Most of them say that they're full stack. I'll be surprised. How do they contribute to open source? Now that you've seen my video, you too can contribute to open source. What do they do on the side? In other words, I'm not sure if the question was, you can read it better than me, whether they do the coding on the side as I do, as you see here. When have they been learning programming, in less than 5 years, or when did they, years since they've learned to program, coding professionally for how many years? You'll see that the majority of programmers, in this case, in this survey, have been doing it for less than 5 years. So whatever it is that year level you're at, you should feel comfortable, because no matter what it is, the majority of people have less experience than you and are doing just fine. So years of experience by developer type, etc. These are some fascinating steps. In another lunch and learn, perhaps I will go through these in a little bit details of something that I want to sort of talk about or sort of delve into. If you do have questions, if you do want to hear more about these lunch and learns, these quick snippets that I can give you as a senior developer that let you do things, would you like to learn more about coding? Would you like me to show off different coding tricks? One of my as absolute idols, Wes Bos, does these snippets where he sort of chooses a problem he's happening and he solves it within a 5 or 10 minute gap. Would you like to hear that for your next lunch and learn? Would you like to hear something in general, like what I'm doing in this case, what we're doing, and etc.? Let me know that as well in the comments. Thank you for subscribing. A tremendous amount of you guys have been subscribing. I do look forward to talking with you and hearing from you. I do hear and value that part very, very much. Definitely punch that like button if you feel that this is something worth it. And thank you very much for joining this channel. Again, you can find us more at youtube.com/BocaJS or bocajs.org. Thanks again. See you next time. Have a good lunch.